Welcome to election night 2020. Can't believe it. And we've got Triple T with us. That's even made it even better. How are you doing?
Not too bad, sir. Fine, thank you.
I
Yourself?
thought this evening couldn't get any more exciting, and then you rocked up to
Yeah,
make it
well,
happen.
representing Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Superb. And have you casted your vote today? Are you eligible to vote? Uh,
No, I'm not eligible
and
to
do you
vote.
believe in it? Do you believe in taking part in democracy?
Yes, sir, I do. I believe in
Okay.
voting, and we shall see very soon. I think in the UK, it's probably what is it? What's your time out there?
We're coming up to 1 a.m. Yeah, half 12. We're not going to know for several hours, but I just wanted to check in and enjoy it. It's looking like Biden is very much ahead in the polls. I always listen to the bookmakers because if they're wrong, they lose a lot of money. And Paddy Power, I think, has Joe Biden at 1-2 to become the next president. I know that doesn't um, maybe make sense to people that aren't gambling types, but it means if you put £2 on Joe Biden to win, you'll win £1. You'll get three back. So he's like 2 out of 3. He has like a 66% chance of winning at the moment,
Well,
according to the odds makers. We've got a chat from Jules. Hello. That's someone saying, "Hey guys, hey." And I like your picture. Very extraterrestrial. Now, what conclusion do you jump to when you see a person who has a picture of an alien as their profile picture? Who do you think they're supporting in all this?
I think I certainly think it's not an alien, but
No, but do you
maybe,
think they're a Biden? Get the flag. Oh man, the flag. Well, I'm tarnishing the flag. I'll have to wear it. Yeah. Do you think Mr. Alien Man is a Trump or a Biden supporter?
um, I think I'll go with Biden on that one.
Why?
He's the aliens that they have in the USA. Trump seems to be against them. Maybe the person in question is like,
No.
hey, there's too many Mexicans,
Have
and it
you
could be
have
that.
you not have you not noticed that most of the UFO sightings in America happen in strongly Republican areas? The Roswell incident, for example. I think this guy is a strong Republican, and he's just voted for Donald Trump. But that just shows you,
Well,
if I can make those assumptions just by looking at someone's name and their picture, what hope is there for, I don't know, black people in America? And we'll come on to that in a minute, as I know that's a
well, you
strong
need to get
topic
him.
of
You need
yours.
to get him online, I think.
Yeah, Jules, if you want to click the link in description, you can come on and tell us who you voted for. He might not even be American. We don't know, but we're a transatlantic show, transnational,
Yeah.
and of course transgender. We've got Triple T on the line. Great to have he, she, z, everyone with us. We're all welcome tonight. How do you think the LGBTQ community will vote? As they're I guess they're a growing demographic, aren't they? Do you think that's one? It's not like people who are LGBTQ all live in a certain area, but there will be a section of society in every state. Surely there's got to be a bit of a political, what's the word? There's something you need to appeal to that demographic, don't you?
Well, the LGBTQI community, I'm not sure if they're growing, but they are publicly vociferous. We can hear more about them now. And
Mm.
I'm happy after hundreds, perhaps even thousands of years of oppression, they're coming out and they're being free. And I hope,
Mm.
certainly times in the last, since I was young in the 80s and 90s, times have changed. And I hope that they are a lot freer than
And
they were then.
Donald
And
Trump
that's
took a step backwards when he refused to allow transgender people into the military, didn't he? Didn't he famously do that? Um, that's
Yeah.
not going to win many votes, is it?
Well, who knows? It depends if the transgender community see that as a complete insult. Do they balance that? If they are, some of them perhaps are, not many, I assume, anti-Islam or anti-racist or anti-Mexican, if that sort of thing.
Mm.
So there's bound to be a community within the LGBTQI community that has those thoughts. But overall, I think that they perhaps wouldn't vote for him. The things he said, even about women, you got a lot of in the in that community I mentioned, you have
Hmm.
lots of women obviously that are lesbian, and the
Hmm.
things were said, and it's shocking actually. They said that the women's vote was the biggest vote for Donald Trump, but I think on the lesbian side that's not the case. So we shall see. We shall
Hmm.
see what will happen very soon.
And crucially, the polls are saying that this time white women have jumped over the fence and betraying Donald Trump, although they were quite loyal to him
Mm.
in the first attempt that he had, successful attempt in 2016, even though that he had said you can grab women by the. Let's go to the comments. Jules is saying it's a picture of an alien wearing a Starbucks apron, bit of advertising there, with a cup of coffee standing in front of a Starbucks mothership. Are they paying you to support, promote Starbucks? I was apprehended once outside a Starbucks that had been smashed up, but it was not me that had done it. I had just witnessed it. And PSV Eindhoven is saying, Julian, would you vote? Who would you vote for if you could? Well, I can't, and I would probably vote for an independent candidate, but there's so few this time. Kanye West is running as an independent, but not in every. I know they're not in every state, so he cannot win the presidency. I don't even know why he bothered running.
Well, I think it's for the experience, and unfortunately,
Mm,
the next election when it rolls around, that shock factor is going to be dissipated with. So perhaps it was a mistake. They said he was going for a trial run. I'm sure he's got millions and millions of followers out there. So who knows what's going to happen? You mentioned the women who
mm,
voted for him, and you said that they
mm.
jumped over the fence. Was the vote the last election, was it a protest vote by the people? Were they just sick of what's going on and they voted for the guy that was least likely to get in? Because people all the way up till he actually won thought this was some sort of joke pretty much, and he had no chance. We had our Brexit vote, and many
Yeah.
people that you spoke to, they were um, protesting. They were just voting for the heck of it. And I am thankful that the trains were delayed and I missed my vote. I wasn't able to vote on that day. But
Mm.
if I did vote, I would have probably voted a leave on the basis of just, yeah, what the heck? Let's just do it for fun. It's a protest vote. Forget this. I don't know what's going on. And I
Yeah.
think many people did, to be fair. But
When a choice.
what would have been interesting was if Jeremy Corbyn got back in and if we had another chance, would we, knowing what's going on, voted the opposite of what the way we had? That would have been interesting to see.
Jeremy who?
Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh yeah, Piers Corbyn's brother. Yeah, I vaguely remember him. Um, yeah, it's interesting. And on the issue of white women, don't forget. I know it's 4 years ago now. The alternative to Donald Trump back then was a white woman. Can you
Mm.
believe it? And he famously said the next morning, "I just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us. It's about us." And the rest is history. The last 4 years have flown by. Jules, our friend in the chat, is saying that he works in Starbucks. It's just a job, and he likes my work. You found me on the Kev Baker show. Oh, really glad to have you with us. Kev Baker is absolutely fantastic, a superb uh, broadcaster. And when I put together a little, what do you call it when you have pictures all together that make up a bigger picture? You know that sort of thing. A collage.
Something.
A
Collage.
collage, like on Blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier. He was in the center of it. I put my top 10 truth tellers, people from different areas of the alternative media, voices that I admire. and some that I don't really admire, but just I put them on there because they were influential, and we put Syrian Girl on there, Sheikh Imran Hussein, even Alex Jones. They're turning the freaking frogs gay. You remember him? And as much as I don't agree with a lot of what he said, and he
Yeah.
remained silent often on many issues, but the guy had his voice taken away from him. And over the past
Well,
4 years, that's happened to a lot of people, hasn't it? Hasn't happened to us
to
yet.
be to be fair, he did go. I mean, I'm a big fan of Alex Jones, but to be fair,
Mm.
he did go off the handle a bit, and what he was saying may well have caused harm to others. So maybe it was a good idea to
They,
give him a break. I think he might be back on though. I think he's on. Another guy you missed. I heard he's passed away. God rest his soul. His name was Mursi. I think I saw you on his channel once. Mursi.
oh,
Morris. I beg your pardon.
Morris. No, I did
Morris.
include Morris. Yes, Morris 108. I did include him. Maybe
Mm,
you didn't spot his picture. Yes, Morris 108. Another
mm.
superb YouTuber who had his account deleted, came back and was rebuilding, and then very sadly passed away. This was a Western journalist, top journalist, really talented man
Mm.
who was living
Fantastic.
out in the middle of nowhere in Cambodia
Oh wow.
and kind of really living off the land, living off grid. Although he obviously had internet access because he was updating his. Uh,
Yeah. Well, at times he had it. Yeah.
Yeah. Jules is saying, share the link. Hopefully, others will come. The link, if you would like to join us via video call, is in the description of this very video. If you'd like to click on it, we can bring you on live. Obviously,
Try
it's
to get
something
some.
of a trust exercise that we like to do on here. And sometimes you have to put your neck on the line and you have to risk it, just like the great Morris out in the middle of Cambodia was saying, what did he do other than report news stories? And he put his neck on the line for it, and then his voice was taken away. And the glaringly obvious one I missed, but probably because he deserves a whole page to himself, is Julian Assange.
Yeah, of
But
course.
you don't really think of him as being part of the alternative media. And people say he's a journalist, and we talk about journalism on trial. Really, uh, Julian Assange is a publisher. He publishes the stories that people bring to him. And
Mm.
has there ever a lie
Leaked to
been
him.
told by WikiLeaks? Exactly. The lies, the only lies involved were the lies that were being exposed. Um,
Mm.
and PSB Eindhoven, you forgot to mention George. Well, George Galloway was included in the picture. It's on the
It's
community
a
tab.
legend.
If you go to the channel, if you go to where it says community, there's an option where you can share things. I think off the top of my head, we had Kev Baker, Alex Jones, Syrian Girl, Sheikh Imran Hussein. Who else? We'll have a look on there.
I
But yeah,
find
definitely George Galloway.
I find Sheikh Imran Hussein a bit too controversial and I mean, there's just so much he says. It's very hard to fully accept. Although
Hard to swallow.
he does have some good points. He has some good points about what he said about the pandemic, which I was in shock and in awe when I reheard
Mm,
this with some WhatsApp clips. He said that they're going to make a claim in a few years or so, and it's gonna no one's gonna go to Hajj, and they're gonna say it's a pandemic, and that's all they have to do, and people are gonna stay in. And he said something on those lines, which really is, if you ask Piers Corbyn,
mm,
his brother, and
mm,
all these other people who are, they say this is all hocus pocus. So he did say something's gonna happen, and people won't go now for that for thousands of years, perhaps. People always went, and we didn't have a pandemic in this manner, in the sense, mind you, with social media and everything. Yeah,
mm,
but
mm,
no one's going anywhere. So he had some points that the mosques are going to be completely empty on the last days, and no one could ever imagine that the mosques and churches and synagogues would be empty, which they literally are right now. So he does kind of like insinuate things. So I can't take that away from him, but I just find him giving too much out there, and there's just everything is cryptic, and there's just so much to really swallow, and it's impossible to, for me, I find it too much, with all this interest and all sorts of points that he makes. But he has a huge following. I think out in I think he lives in Singapore or somewhere.
I know that he's from Trinidad, and I think he was living in Malaysia, but he's the kind of man that has to travel around. And he spoke last time 4 years ago. I remember Sheikh Imran Hussein reacted quite positively to Donald Trump. Ironically, the guy who apparently created the Muslim ban, even though Obama had imposed the very same rules and restrictions, and it wasn't a Muslim ban at all because people were still welcome from Saudi Arabia. As you know, a lot of Saudis fly in and out of the United States often. Even on 9/11, members of the Bin Laden family were flying out of America when they were related to the number one suspect.
Absolutely. And the irony, when there's any sort of crime, the first thing they do is lock that family down and say, hey, hold on. I know there was a motorway case that we spoke about not long ago, and the person was missing for a couple of months. He was on the run. And ultimately, he was caught because he contacted his dad. Now, they allowed his father and mother, perhaps, to remain free, but the remainder of his extended family and immediate family were all arrested. So the father said, son, you have to come home. They've taken everyone in the village. So you're right. The family, you think, would be kept eyes upon, if nothing else, but yet they just allow them to get on a plane and head off back to
update, Omar. And we've got a viewer in Virginia, and thank us for the invite. I'm winding down. He was at work at 4 a.m. It's 8 p.m. here in Virginia. Virginia has just gone it's just gone off the screen. I think it went red. Would Virginia be a Republican area, a Republican state? Can we confirm that from Jules? And Vermont has gone blue, and of course blue is the Democrats, red is the Republicans. It's the opposite of what you would expect, because in the UK we talk about red being Labour and being on the left. So it's confusing. But that's only these are early days. These are I think exit poll. Vermont is a Biden win apparently. Shall we listen in? We've got they're talking about the pandemic. This is live from Georgia. I hope you hear. Can you hear that, Omar?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Racial reconciliation. I think many people want to see racial reconciliation.
Racial reconciliation.
Racial equality and justice.
Oh, this is Martin Luther King Jr.'s son, I think. Martin Luther King Jr., I think.
Yeah.
What would racial reconciliation look like in the United States? Have we not got that already?
Well, it depends who you speak to. I mean, there's a clip going around where the police officer, just the way he dragged a young kid, a black teenager, to the ground. I think the kid probably died. So, I mean, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. We normally link it with crime, and I'm not sure if black people in our country are going through something similar, and perhaps they are, but it's horrific to see the way black people are treated in the USA. If I was black, I don't think.
Is it horrific, or is it horrific to see it, or is it portrayed and exaggerated in certain ways? In the media, as I was told many years ago, there is always selection, omission, and emphasis. Do occasions where a young black teenager gets roughed up by the police get more exposure than where it's, say, a white individual, because of the news values, because of the history of racism? And that's a story that can be sold. No? Okay.
No, I disagree. If there was black cops who attacked a white teenager, I think we would be equally horrified, and that would be equally newsworthy. But it's happening in reverse.
Well, how many of the cops that were responsible for the death of George Floyd were white? I think at least two of them were not white, but it got portrayed as a white supremacist, racist murder, and that may have been an element of it, but certainly not all the police officers involved were white individuals.
Yeah, well,
So
there was a Chinese
is there a
American.
narrative? Mhm.
Well, there's a Chinese American, and there was I'm not sure. It was probably what I think they call them Spanish, or what do they call them, Latins, or whatever they call them out there, Latinos. I beg your pardon.
Yeah,
I think one was of that persuasion, but the main one, who was the culprit, the other two, fine, they should have intervened, but who's the killer here? It's the white guy. And the white guy had his knee on a black guy. Now, if a black police officer had his knee in that manner on a white guy on the ground, I think it would have been equally bad. And the protests would have been pretty much the same. Perhaps
Would
people would have
they?
said White Lives Matter.
Would they really? Are you sure about that?
If they happened in the same magnitude, yes, that would have been. That's the camel that broke the straws back, as they say.
We welcome Jules, fellow friend through Kev Baker. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Very well. And you're in Virginia?
I am.
Wow. And am I right that it's just gone red or blue? I get confused with the color. Give us an update.
Actually, I was just getting ready to power down. I mean, a slave to,
Sorry to keep. No, I know you said you were working hard.
Dude, it's
you
all
work
good.
early in the morning.
I'm off tomorrow. It's all good. No, there was so much that I want to hit upon that I just honestly just didn't feel like texting. So anyhow,
give it to
us.
To
answer your question, as far as I know, Virginia has been a Democratic state. We have, a couple of years ago, you might have heard in the news, the blackface governor, Governor Northam, who, that's our governor. To hear that Virginia has flipped as Republican, we're in primarily Democrat territory. I'm in Richmond, which is the capital of Virginia, just a couple hours outside of DC. For the past week and a half, for the past week and a half,
beautiful place.
The past week and a half, downtown and college communities, they've actually been boarding up all their businesses and places that are prime target.
Mm.
So
and that's because of the risk of a backlash to a Trump second term.
Yes. Well, it's got.
A backlash either way.
Yeah, it's a combination of everything. But I wish I could share my screenshots. I don't have StreamYard or anything. But
sorry.
According to the Virginia polls, racism was actually the bottom on the list. The top thing on the list was the pandemic and COVID-19.
Wow. Had it not been for this Chinese virus, as our friend Trump calls it, what do you think the election would have looked like? Trump obviously would have had a much greater chance of winning, I would imagine. Would it have been a landslide for Trump because unemployment was down among Black and Hispanic communities at levels lower than seen for a long time? Yeah. What would it have been like had it not been for COVID-19?
I think Trump probably would have won. I mean, to answer your question earlier, I'm apolitical. I don't have a dog in the race, and by being apolitical, I can see both sides of the argument. And as time ticks on, it's just become more and more clear. And in the past couple of weeks leading up to this election, it's definitely all about the mask. You have the maskers against the anti-maskers.
Wow.
Can I interject, if I may? I lived in Maryland, in Virginia. I think you call it Maryland, or whatever you lot out there call it.
It's about 3 hours away.
Yeah, I lived out there, and around DC and that region, I met Muslims and I met people from all different faiths and all different colors, and everyone lived there, and it was great to see. Which way do you think the vote is going in that region, in the DC region, and in the region in Virginia overall? Which way do you think is a particular block? Are the I shouldn't call them foreigners, but are people of a different ethnic minority, non-whites, are they voting a particular way collectively as a block, or is it like in England where anyone just votes whichever way they feel?
Here in the States, in Virginia, I mean, it would just probably social media and pop culture has a lot of influence. In the past 2 weeks leading up to this election, I have heard people say, you got to vote for him, or I don't care, just vote. I mean, there's overwhelming. You have to vote for him. So it's vote, and I mean vote for him is vote for Biden. I'm neither way. I mean, I just feel like regardless of the outcome, whatever is going to happen is going to happen, and it's a slow ticking bomb. And I'm never on Facebook, but today curiosity beseeked me, and somebody made the post: are any other cities boarding up their businesses and establishments? And all across the state. So it's not Virginia, Denver, I mean Wisconsin, places that aren't heavily populated in media, as we hear. Everybody's preparing for riots and turmoil tonight.
So if Biden wins and we have Trump the loser, will Trump, even though he's in power still for another 11 weeks, do you think that the next 11 weeks will be absolute chaos in the country of USA?
And that's hard for me to answer because
because you mentioned these businesses are boarding up and so on, and I assume that, I mean, there's a lot of people with a lot of guns out there.
Virginia, that is why if I feel like if Virginia has gone red, it will be because Virginia is big on their gun rights amendment.
Okay. I've just seen people walking up and down saying, "You will not replace us." Is it that type of mentality? And the Proud Boys, would there be anyone of that ilk in Virginia?
I honestly can't answer because I haven't followed any of the groups or anything. I'm about 15, 20 miles away from downtown, from the heavily densely populated area. Everything in my daily life is within a 10 minutes drive. I mean, work, grocery store.
That's the best way to be.
I go. So I really have no need to go anywhere. So I honestly can't tell you how bad it is because I don't have a purpose to go, and I'm not going to purposely put myself in a place where anything could happen. It's 2020.
Now, can I ask you, how does it feel?
Oh, by the way, guys, the polls close in 10 seconds. Just thought I'd throw that in there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No one else can have their say now. Democracy process is over. So what will be. It's now over to counting. But go on, Omar.
You said 10 seconds. You gave us 5 seconds.
Well, it was.
So, Jules, I want to ask you that. Jules, I want to ask you that you're in a country, and a lot of people, as I mentioned correctly, have a lot of guns. Now, in England, where we live, this is impossible to imagine. I can't imagine getting in a car, driving down the road, and the guy that I bump into accidentally, just a touch that's going to cost maybe £5 to fix, he has got a gun. I am afraid that I could not live in a country where people have guns. Does that go through your mind? If you're driving, as you mentioned, you drive to the places that you go to on a daily basis, pretty much. If you were to get in a little bit of a collision or something, you go into a mini argument at the supermarket or mini market, or whatever you have out there, then do you have that at the back of your mind? Does the lady who has a purse, could she have a gun in that purse? Is she entitled to have a gun in her shoe? Could she have a gun in the boot of her car, or whatever you call it out there, in her car? She could have this. You have to live with this on a daily basis. I struggle with that. I'm sure everyone in England would struggle with that. Do you have the same fears, or do you just push it back into your mind to such an extent that you never ever think about it?
As it's gotten closer to the election, with all the civil unrest that started way back in May, I do think about it when I'm out and about traveling. Prior to that, I really didn't. But the world has changed so much in a short amount of time that myself, and I can't speak for everybody else, but I think a lot of us have shifted our mentality towards guns. I've never had a desire to have a gun or use one or own one, but some people live alone, they're single, they're female, they don't have any other form to protect them, and some people would have a bat, and I mean that to protect themselves. But if you're a woman and you're small and you can't, I mean, a gun is defense. And for me, if I had a gun, I wouldn't want to harm anybody, but hopefully something with a sound, because all you gotta hear is the cock of the gun, and hopefully that would be enough for somebody to get out of your way.
The problem with that theory is in England we don't really have any guns or any gun crime pretty much. I think maybe a couple of people a year die, or a few more than that. Not many die, but we do have a problem of knife crime, and it's mainly the young black kids in London. They are stabbing each other, and when you ask them, they say the same thing what you just mentioned. They say that I have to take it out for protection. I need this for protection. I think, that's a huge issue that we've pretty much ignored, that people say it's protection and then it ends up, and I understand if it's a woman living in her house on her own, it's a different thing. But I've noticed that the young black people who are in prison now, who have stabbed others, who are doing 10, 20 years in jail, they have said the same thing that you've mentioned, that it's for protection, so that when they go out, they still need protection because they're in some sort of gang. And I think what you've said correctly is a young lady now, we've got young women living on their own in this country too. It's not exclusive to America. I'm sure they're living all over the world. But in this country, there's not a single woman that is living in her house alone who has a gun.
Guys, election update. I can tell you now, Joe Biden is now 4-5. That's just changed to 5-6, and Trump is at even money. Paddy Power are now saying there is a 50-50 chance that Donald Trump will get his second term, and in a two-horse race, a 50-50 chance is a very, very good chance. This race is appearing to be a lot closer than people thought it would be. I said it would be close. I didn't say Trump would win, but I said it would be closer than they were thinking. Biden is not out of sight, and Donald J. Trump is now even money. That means if you put £10 or $10 to translate it, you could win £10 profit. Wow, it's going to be an exciting night. On the issue of the age, PSV Eindhoven is saying Trump is only 3 years younger than Biden. That's true, but Trump would only have a possible 4 more years to serve. Biden, if he gets in as the oldest president ever, could then carry on for another 8 years. PK is saying, protect yourself from who? The Antifa BLM mobs. It's not Trump mobs burning and looting. That's a fair point, isn't it? What do you think about that, Omar?
Well, as this lovely lady has explained to us, that she's afraid of what could take place now. The 11 weeks that Trump has, if he loses, I don't think he will, but if he does lose, then they've got 11 weeks to cause absolute chaos. And if you've been watching the BBC programs, I don't know if that was PK, if you've been watching the BBC, those guys look scary. The Trump brigade looks scary. They even took the Biden bus. I don't know if you watched it on the news. Was it yesterday? They actually just pretty much overtook the Biden bus and they took it off the motorway. The motorway bus, the Biden bus was going somewhere, to some rally somewhere. They just said, you're not going to come into our state. They didn't let the bus go off. Did you watch that out there?
Do you know what, guys? We've got.
I saw some of the footage. I didn't intend to come on and hijack your show.
Well, sorry, Jules.
You guys. No, it's all good.
Do you want to rest? I mean, we appreciate what you've shared with us. You need to go to bed or prepare for work in the morning. Let us know. There's no pressure.
I haven't been following this all the way through. I mean, one side is one side's always against the other, and the Democrats are pulling out all the stops to make sure that Biden gets in.
I know what you mean. Look, Jules, we're going to give you a bit of time to relax. Jump back on later on if you want. We might be on here all night.
Will do.
But thank you so much for.
Nice to meet you, Omar.
See you in the
Nice to
chat.
meet
See you
you,
in the
Julian.
chat.
All right,
Lovely.
take care.
Thank you so much. And we've got a call coming through online. I hope we're going to hear it. Hello, caller. Who's this?
Hello,
Brilliant. I hope we're hearing you loud and clear, Turk. What you got for us? How you feeling tonight? I know your hero is doing pretty well. It's looking okay.
I feel amazing, and I know that Donald Trump will win this.
Amazing.
I know this. He was set by God to win the first and second election.
Yeah, well, he's now even money. Paddy Power, the god of gambling, has got him at even money. Joe Biden is slightly ahead, 5-6, but Donald Trump even money. My goodness! Earlier on tonight, if you'd
It's not about the current state; it's about the future. And in the future, in the next few hours, Donald Trump will be victorious.
what time do you think we're gonna know what the outcome is? It's 1 a.m. here. It's gone 1 a.m. It's 10 past 1 in the morning.
I have no idea. Probably maybe in the morning. I don't know. Probably in the morning, afternoon.
Oh man, yeah. I hope election night doesn't turn into election week. Be honest with us. How will you react if it goes the other way and Sleepy Joe Biden becomes the oldest president ever elected?
If Donald Trump loses, then America is in a world of hurt, and I personally do not care what happens. So America and Joe Biden gets elected because the people have brought evil on themselves.
Oh my goodness, you heard it here first. All right, well look, keep up with us.
Between evil and good.
All right.
And Donald Trump is good.
There's nothing more I can say to that. Thank you for joining us on election night.
Yes, you're welcome, friend. And remember, everybody, like, subscribe, share. That's us for life.
Thank you. Yes.
Channel, and make sure to donate to Bombs.
Oh, thank you so much. Lovely, wonderful. Nice bit of free advertising there from the Turk regular caller, contributor, viewer, loyal listener. PK was asking, look at how many weeks the BLM and Antifa have been burning for. And Brian Canada saying, yeah, more like months. This anger comes from somewhere, and it's being channeled. And you made the point that the other side are not as violent, but maybe when you're carrying assault rifles and whatever other guns they are armed to the teeth with, maybe you don't need to be violent. Maybe that's the answer then. Just if everyone had a gun, no one would try to attack anyone, or you wouldn't think they would. You'd be mad. You'd be mad too, wouldn't you? I would never start a fight with anyone with a gun. But let's see if we can catch up with some of the mainstream news. We've got the BBC World Service. I hope I don't get any copyright for having listened to them. And alternatively, we've got another caller anyway. Hello, caller. Who's this? Welcome to Lessons for Life, election night special. Is it PK?
It is, yeah.
Hello, mate. I hope everyone can hear you. I can hear you. Hopefully everyone else can. How are you feeling tonight? You're making some good points as usual.
I'm tired actually. I just woke up. I woke up to check out the results, or some of the results.
Yeah. Well, it's looking better for Trump than we thought. I knew this would be. It's always going to be closer than they think, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope Trump wins. I really do.
Why, as someone who lives in the UK, we presume, do you hope Donald Trump wins in America?
Yeah, I do hope he wins. I think what Biden represents at the moment is, I think he's been put there because he's not got all his cognitive abilities that he's had in the past. If you listen to that man speak recently, he's not all there, and I think we have to be honest with that. He's mumbling words, he's mumbling phrases, he's not speaking 100% coherently.
Yeah,
now, the question I have to ask is, to anybody, would you put a man in, or woman, who does have signs of mental distress under pressure, just because you hate the other person more? Now, I would argue this: politics is always a game of the lesser of two evils. But to put a person who has the most powerful finger on planet Earth, i.e. the finger that can push the red button, right? I know the safeguards involved in pushing the red button, but to put a person in charge of that so-called red button, who does show signs that his mental abilities are not what they were, is absolute bloody insanity. Not because he will push the red button, but because if you look at the legislation that the Democrats wanted to, I think they will introduce it about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They wanted to put legislation in that said that if Congress felt that the president wasn't up to the job, if it was signed off for the vice president by the vice president, they could oust an elected president very easily. What does that tell you? That's a coup in the waiting. They want Biden in, so Kamala Harris, whatever her name is, she can be in power in 2 months. End of.
As quick
when
as
she's
that.
in power, that's your Omar, your OAC, all of these extreme leftists in. And that means communism by the back door. And that also means that their gun rights will go. And what does it say on the First Amendment? That it says that or Second Amendment, that your gun rights are protected. Why? For enemies, domestic and abroad. Domestic. There's your enemies.
Wow, an enemy within.
Yes. And what will happen if they try to take those guns now? They've just sold more guns ever. Do you think that those people that have just bought those guns are just going to go into some police station and put them on the table? Would you? I bloody wouldn't.
The phrase
I bloody wouldn't.
"from my cold dead hand," I think, is what the real right-wing gun toters like to say.
Well, it's not the right wing. It's in the Constitution.
It is,
Constitution
but
is not for right-wingers. It's for everybody. Libertarians.
I know I've used the wrong phrase again. But why do we perceive it to be the right wing then that bang on about guns?
Because of the media, Julian.
Okay.
Because it's perceived. What's happened is they've turned the Constitution into a right-wing statement. It isn't a right-wing statement at all. Look what happened in Nazi Germany when the German government took the guns from the German population. Anyone that wanted to be against or was against the Nazi rhetoric had no way of defending themselves.
Is that true? Is that true about Germany? They banned guns as soon as they got into power. I've got it up here.
Isn't that something to consider? And the Democrats have been saying that ages leading
Well,
up to the election.
I've got on the
O'Rourke,
screen.
what's his name, O'Rourke, saying, "We will take your AK-40, not your AK-47s, your whatever they are."
If I can read to you from Wikipedia, PK, and Wikipedia is not always reliable, it's often unreliable. But here it says, the Nazi gun control argument is a belief that gun regulations in the Third Reich helped to facilitate the rise of the Nazis. The majority of historians have described the argument as questionable. The argument is frequently employed. Questions about its validity and about the motives behind its inception have been raised by scholars. Proponents in the US have used it as a part of the security against tyranny. Let's see. According to the gun rights activist, the Nazi gun control hypothesis was first suggested by J. Simkin. In 2000, the NRA attorney Stephen Halbert said he was presenting the first scholarly analysis of the use of gun laws and the policies of Hitler. Okay, so it's questionable. It's questionable.
It doesn't say conclusively that it's
false. Yeah.
And also, what about the communists? I bet there was loads of guns over in the Stalin's time. And you know, were they disarmed? Was that population disarmed? What does Wikipedia say about that?
It's a good question. I mean, but what do we do about the population that are arming themselves with knives?
Well, the question is, why are they arming themselves? I mean, are they arming themselves because they believe, the population believes, that Trump supporters are the people that's going to go out and cause, pardon my Francais, shit going on?
D'accord.
Or is it because for the last 100 days, in states that have been Democrat run, that you've had burning, looting and murder by the people who support BLM, Antifa, who support the Democrats? Well, do they support the Democrats? They sort of, the Democrats seem to support them for political reasons. And then when that mayor from a certain county, certain state in city, I can't recall it. Was it maybe Portland? He went out onto the streets, and even then they turned on him. You know, it's not. And who was it? Was it Antifa that shot a Trump supporter on the streets? It wasn't the other way around. It's people that for some reason want to look at the writing that's going on. It's people that want to burn down that system and replace it with a utopia they believe will exist. And look at the Chaz zone they had in America, right after the George Floyd riot.
This was a sort of area that declared itself independent, right, and autonomous.
2 miles, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And the whole of America, and that's your supposed leftist utopia.
And the first thing they did was secure their border, wasn't it?
Yeah, they secured their border, and they actually had zones within it where white people weren't allowed. So when they created a border, right? The hypocrisy of that statement, they created a border after they'd been saying that borders are racist, and then they actually, within that place, they had places where white people couldn't go, and it's black zones only.
Wow.
Factual. Look it up.
Yes.
Factual. And the hypocrisy of this, for some reason, people can't see it. And either they are blind or they are just stupid, Julian. And this is what you're going to get if Trump doesn't win. You are going to get an identity politics. You know, what happened to Martin Luther King's great words? I want my children to be judged by the content of their character, not the colour of their skin. And what is identity politics but looking at your colour?
Yes, and what happened to, on the left, workers of the world unite? I thought we were all meant to unite, whether we're black, white, or gay, straight, LGBT. The left, and it's been said before, I didn't leave the left left me. A lot of people with the real socialism feel alienated by this strange new form that's
it's
before
strange
them.
new left, which to me seems like a sort of reverse fascism.
Mm,
You know, if you, it's like, you know, that what people forget is the Nazis and the communists use exactly the same bully boy techniques to try and get people to go with their side back in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
Okay, it's irrelevant whether you're fascist or communist. It's the same techniques. Right?
Yeah, violence, intimidation.
It's violent. It's violence and intimidation. And the left has been doing that for weeks. The Trump supporters are not going out there that I've seen, because guaranteed the mainstream media would have reported it if the Trump supporters were using the tactics that Antifa and BLM are using.
But isn't it the case that the Trump supporters are armed, so they just need to walk up and down with their assault rifles? They don't actually have to fire any bullet because they are.
So the Trump supporter that wasn't armed, that got shot by an armed Antifa, should have been armed then, shouldn't he? Because he might have had a chance to protect himself and save his life.
Very strong argument. Very strong argument. In the chat, Matty B is saying the extreme left and right are both deeply flawed.
Yes, and that's what I've just pointed out with my statement about the communists and the fascists. It's an absolute insanity. And you know, here's the thing: an observation I have, Julian, right, is democracy, right? It's always the lesser of two evils, okay? 3 evils or 4 evils.
Often.
You know, you're not going to get more than 4 horses in the race. And we all know one of them's going to come fourth, one of them's going to come third, and the other two, that's a 50-50, okay? But if you cannot accept the result, right, and then you threaten anyone else that doesn't vote your way through violence, then that horse needs to be put down, because that horse is that dog's gone rabid. Let me put it that way. Every dog has his day, but that dog has gone rabid.
You have to be put down. I mean, that's.
What do you do with a rabid dog? You put it down. And unfortunately, the left in America has gone so far extreme to the left. It's become a rabid dog. It's become a rabid dog. Now, am I saying it should be put down through guns? Well, let me put it this way, Julian. If the left was to come, if I was an American, okay, and I was living in a nice quiet suburb, and the left was to come through marching and then start burning and looting, and they tried to come to my house, I'd shoot them.
Well,
right? And it's not because I'm taking it to them, it's because they brought it to my house, they brought it to my front door.
If it was self-defense, you would be legally on safe ground. PK,
yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna thank you for your contribution and open it up in case we get one more.
I haven't made anyone too mad, because I really do hope this election, whatever the result, passes peacefully.
Well said, mate. Well said. And I liked your comments on the other video as well. We'll go back into that soon.
I'll finish on this, Julian.
Yeah, go on.
If Trump loses and the so-called far right are magnanimous in defeat, and there isn't violence from them, okay, then that would be really, really, really good. If Trump wins and the left kick off, that's just proved my point. And if the right are violent, then well, what can I say? The shit hits the fan, and everyone loses.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. PK, thanks so much, mate. Enjoy the rest of election night. We'll catch up soon.
Have a great night, everybody.
Mate. Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you very much.
Peace.
Lovely. Peace to you. Yeah, always good to hear from PK, and making a lot of good points. And he made some good points on the video we did last night. So don't forget to check out the comments for that. Matty B, if you're watching and if you are able, I'd love it if you clicked the link and joined us, because I know you're not a gambling man, but you look, as I do, at the gambling odds when you want to see what the likely outcome of something is. And Donald Trump is still sitting strong at evens. That's a 50-50 chance of getting a second term. Joe Biden slightly ahead, 5 to 6. Forget the polls. It's all about the betting. Owen Keeling is saying, because there is no longer a centre in politics, only extremes. Is there really? I mean, in UK politics, I thought that certainly during the time when we had, Tony Blair and then Gordon Brown, the leader of the Labour Party was very much on the right of the Labour Party. And there was this new sort of generic centrist type of party that was meant to appeal to Tory voters. And as much as the politicians on different sides seemed to disrespect each other and slate each other in the House of Commons, they actually were adopting the same policies, especially when it came to foreign policy. They were all backing the same wars. They were all up to the same tricks. Matty B is saying the betting odds are the best thing to follow. Yeah, I think they are, because, you know, the bookie loses out. It's his job to get these things right. He can't be offering a huge price on Donald Trump if Donald Trump actually stands a good chance of winning. And at the moment, Donald Trump, they are saying, has got an even chance of winning. And Matty B is saying decimal odds are the easiest to understand. Trump was 2.75. Now he is 2.0. Now you see, Matty, I do not understand decimal odds at all. I need it in fractional odds. Even money, spending many a happy afternoon with my dad in the bookies. I only understand even money, 2 to 1, odds on, going good to soft, on the nose, all that stuff. Trap 4 each way. But yeah, an each way bet on Donald Trump would be a nice little earner at the moment. But we don't condone gambling on here. I'd love it if you could get on, Matty B, but I understand if you can't. It is in the early hours of the morning here in the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Jen Wallace is saying Joe Biden is at 85 electoral votes. Trump is at 55 so far. Yeah, and what's the magic number? 270 to win. But it doesn't really mean anything in the early stages, does it? We don't know. We don't know who will finish the night as president. Owen Keeling is saying 2.0 is 2 to 1. That's in the decimal odds. Oh, maybe it is 2.75 to 1. Decimal is just to 1. Okay, maybe I'm being enumerate. Here's Matty B saying CNN was still talking about Biden winning Florida, but Paddy Power stopped taking bets 20 minutes ago. That shows you the bias of CNN. They're very much on the so-called left, the liberal media. They would be backing Biden. I wonder if these polls have shot Biden in the foot, or if the liberals have shot themselves in the foot by hyping up Biden and his chances of winning. If you are a potential Biden voter and you think that he's definitely going to win, you probably won't bother voting. Whereas if it's very close, then you're going to be pushed. I mean, how many people that would have voted to remain in the European Union didn't bother because they thought, nah, Brexit will never happen. That's just the nature of democracy, isn't it? Mohammed Akbar is asking a very interesting question, and he was being very kind to me earlier on, talking about my blogs from Pakistan. And he's saying, if Biden wins, will UK legalize weed? And he's really emphasized the weed there. I don't know. I wonder what the impact of a Biden win will be on the UK. And Boris Johnson, our very own homegrown Donald Trump, has been very much close pals with Donald Trump. Some people even get the pair of them mixed up. But you'll have to make a whole new friendship, a whole new special relationship, being someone on the right from the UK befriending someone on the left in the form of Joe Biden in America. But if you remember the days of Bush and Blair, my God, it rolls off the tongue like Ant and Dec. Bush and Blair, George W. Bush and Anthony Blair, they were great pals, weren't they? They enjoyed a good ruckus in the Middle East together, and they were from different so-called ends of the spectrum. Update from Matty B, our gambling man, is saying Trump just dropped to 2.2, bet £10 and get 22 back with the stake. Yeah, so you're just about doubling your money there and slightly more. So I'm not sure where you're getting the odds from. I go to Paddy Power, but these bookmakers are saying Trump has a roughly 50-50 chance of winning, but you're saying he's dropped. Let's check in with Paddy Power. Other bookmakers are available. I suppose these odds are going to fluctuate throughout the night, and also the bookies are influenced by people placing big money. So, you know, a lot of the people watching this show have probably just bet on, looks like Joe Biden, because he's coming in. Joe Biden is now 4-7. Sorry, Matty, I have to do it in the old-fashioned fractional way. Donald Trump is now out. He's slid from evens out to 5-4. So he's slightly less likely than a 50-50 chance of winning. So if you toss a coin and get heads, that means you might get Donald Trump for 4 more years. Jen Wallace is saying people were saying they've never seen polls so packed in my city. Very long waits. Yeah, is this a great reawakening of democracy and taking part? Owen Keeling is saying weed is basically legal anyway, but don't try it, folks. It will rot your brains. Jen Wallace from the United States, stores have boarded up windows. Yeah, this town is becoming like a ghost town. Owen Keeling is saying, I don't want my weed market gentrified into big pharma. Yeah, if they do legalize weed, it's so they can tax you for it. Mohammed Akbar is reminiscing about Bush and Blair, best friends. Yeah, and in those days, the BBC got nicknamed the Bush and Blair Corporation because they were pumping out pro-invasion of Iraq propaganda left, right, and centre. Was that another one from Matty B? Yeah, Matty B is on Paddy Power as well. And Matty B gets the the decimal odds. Jen Wallace updating us. Donald J. Trump is at 61 electoral votes now, and it's all 270 to win. I wonder, maybe Matty B can explain this one. How is it you can win the popular vote as Hillary did 4 years ago, but not actually win the election? It's electoral college votes that count, right? And that means if you live in a densely populated area, let me get this straight, let me understand this. My assumption is if you live in a densely populated area, is your vote technically worth slightly less? How is it you can have most of the votes but actually lose the election? Mohammed Akbar is saying George Galloway is a cool character. You like him? Yes, we're great friends with George Galloway on this channel, and you can. I've got a whole playlist of my conversations with George Galloway, most of which took place in a cramped lift, but we had to stop doing them because of COVID-19. It was too small. Autism Dad is giving us an update. 7-5 Trump, 4-7 Biden on the nose, going good to soft. And Owen Keeling is bringing up similar to gerrymandering. Now, this is a phenomenon that occurred in the north of Ireland, where heavily nationalist, what's the word, constituencies, wound up needing more votes to get an MP elected to Parliament than the strongly unionist areas, and they would redraw the border if there was a nationalist majority in one constituency. They would just redraw the border to include more unionist votes, so that the unionists would dominate the Parliament, the Assembly instalment in the north of Ireland. And that monopoly on power of unionist over nationalist is almost sort of, the balance is beginning to tip now, but we'll do a whole show on that another night. Jen Wallace in America is saying exactly the question of every American. The electoral system is supposed to reflect the majority. Yeah, I can't explain why exactly they do it that way. I'm sure it's to benefit someone. Matty B, the gambling man, is still telling us why decimal odds is better. Decimal is better than fraction, as 7 to 5 and 4 to 7 means you have to do maths to see which is better. Well, if you can't, what's it called when you cancel out the equation? I don't know. Biden 1.44, Trump 2.6. Okay, I'm starting to get my head around the fractional odds, and luckily you don't have to do maths to know which is better. You won't have a calculator on you everywhere you go, Matty B. Let's tune in a little bit to the ABC News. I'm not sure what way are they biased. Are they very liberal, or are they Republican? Here we go. Can you hear that?
And hearing about in Florida from Republican leaders, I'm hearing there's just no place for Joe Biden to make up 220,000 votes, and then eventually we'll wind up calling Florida for Trump. Second, in North Carolina, the Trump campaign is very encouraged by the early vote numbers that they've seen, and they think, based on what happened today at the polls, and it's still happening, that they're going to be able to make it up and win narrowly in North Carolina. And lastly, in Pennsylvania, and we're seeing this all over, in Philadelphia, there has been a real underperformance by African-American voters in returning their mail-in ballots. They've been seeing this for about 10 days. They were hoping it would come and close tonight. They haven't seen that closure. So we're seeing that. We're also hearing about double-digit underperformance of African-American voters in the city of Cleveland. If those
underperformance from African-American voters, apparently. And Abd Ginny is saying population exodus to Florida is having an effect. Is that people going to live in Florida or moving away from Florida? They did say that apart from Barack Obama, is it no or very few Democratic candidates have won the election without winning Florida, and it would seem Florida is heading the way of Donald Trump, which would be interesting. Owen Keeling, just times by 10. Imagine you're putting a tenner on it. 2.6 will get 26 quid. Okay. Imagine I'm putting a tenner on it. Imagine I'm putting 1,000 on it. More like it. I'll get 26. See, I've lost the maths already. All right. It's looking very close. Let's have another. Have you got the odds at hand, Matty B? If you're still there, can you do a little refresh of the odds and tell us who's ahead? I'm going to try and have a look at it in good old-fashioned fractional. Oh, wow. Donald Trump is on the slide. He's back out to 7 to 5. That means place £5, get a £7 win. Joe Biden odds on 4 to 7. So, and here's a great idea. Surely, if you played your cards right, and I'm not condoning gambling, at some point in the night, if Joe Biden's odds lengthened, you could get money on Biden and then wait for him to come back in, put money on Trump, and you'll be guaranteed to walk away with profit by the end of the night. Maybe that's what Matty B does. Maybe that's why he likes his decimal odds so much. Brian Cannot Tell is saying, "Lol, why I exodus Florida? Did you make an exodus from Florida, Brian? Were you one of these people that fled? I don't know why people would be leaving Florida. Man, I'd love to go and live in Florida. Ask any person in the UK if they would like to live in Florida. They'll probably bite your hand off." A little bit more from ABC News.
Done so. When you look back at the Republican convention, every night in prime time, there were African-American voices on criminal justice reform, on the economy. And we shouldn't forget that. He deserves credit for that. And it appears that he is maybe not getting a lot of black votes, but maybe people haven't turned out tonight. And that in some ways had an impact. Mary Bruce, what are you?
So they're saying that we know that Donald Trump claimed he'd done more for African-American voters than, was it more than anyone apart from possibly Abraham Lincoln? And he hasn't gained that many African-American votes, but also the African-Americans haven't really turned up to vote as much as we might have anticipated. And that's going to cost the other side, isn't it? That's votes that Joe Biden was banking on. I wonder why that would be. Brian Cannot Tell saying media will not allow a centre to appear to exist. Fact is, more people are truly centrist and thereby completely disillusioned and alienated from both parties. Yeah. Jen Wallace is saying, I lived in Florida for 8 months, hated it, came right back home to the north. Really? What's wrong with you, Jen Wallace? I thought Florida was all beaches and oranges and I thought it was a tropical paradise. And Owen Keeling is recommending that you should move to Texas. On the topic of exodus and this demographic shift, I think a point we need to address is the demographics in terms of not just race, but also age. And following the Second World War, the generation known as the baby boomers, when many more people were born than usual because of all the returning soldiers that came home and had missed their wives so much, you had this explosion of population, and therefore these people that were in their 20s during the swinging 60s, there's been a larger amount of them all through the generations. So baby boomers have been such a powerful lobbying group and a demographic that you need to win over if you want to win an election. But for the first time at this election, I think their numbers have been superseded by, what do they call it? Is it I never know. You've got the Generation X, and you've got millennials, and these people are young, liberal on the left. And if you imagine that there's kids who were 14 when Donald Trump defeated Hillary Clinton at the last election, those teenagers are eligible to vote this time round. And if you imagine all the older generation that elected Donald Trump the last time, I mean, how many of them have sadly passed away? No one lives forever, and the older you get, the more likely you are to die. And even with the pandemic situation, countries that have aging populations will obviously suffer more, because these diseases like flu, like COVID-19, they do again, sadly, I know it's a very morbid topic, but they kill the old and weak more than the young and strong. Brian Cannot Tell is saying in Tennessee, but visiting Texas soon. Lived in Dallas for 3 years. My second wife was from there. There you go. Wow, that's Brian Cannot Tell. We've got quite a lot. You should write an autobiography, Brian, your life story. And may there be many, many, many more chapters to come. PSV Eindhoven, Latinas and Latinos, presumably. But yeah, thanks for sharing with us your type. It's election night 2020. I can't believe we're here, and it's another election has almost come and gone. But it may well turn into election week. I'm not sure if we've got any chance of finding out what will happen by the end of tonight. Let's refresh the betting page from one of our sponsors, Paddy Power. The next president. It's. I think it's sliding further. Donald Trump, 5-4. Joe Biden, 8-13. Odds on. Get your money on Joe Biden before it becomes a dead cert. Before they stop taking bets. Jen Wallace is saying Florida is for retirement. Being from the north, you notice the difference in the south made me realize how much of a northerner I am. Viva la Bluecoats. Okay, I wonder who the Bluecoats is. That some kind of oh, that's a reference to the Civil War. There was me thinking it was a football team or a basketball team or something. Yeah, the red. So the redcoats were the redcoats were the English army, weren't they? I don't know. Why is it that in American politics, blue is the Democrats? You'd think it would be red. And what is it? The Republicans have an image of an elephant, and the Democrats have an image of a donkey. I wonder why that's the mascot. There must be a story in there somewhere. Brian Cannot Tell might be able to tell us. It's great that we've got our American audience on here tonight, especially if they joined us from the Kev Baker show. Now I know why Kev loves his late night broadcast as well, going out to an American audience. And whatever happens, we mustn't let this divide us. We mustn't let the fact that we've got Boris Johnson and you've got Joe Biden make any difference to we, the people. Jen Wallace is saying grey coats were the South. Okay, right. So Civil War, grey coats to the South, blue coat. That must have been confusing. Grey and blue is not much of a distinction, is it? And the Confederate flag has been so controversial, and it's like a red rag to a bull to some people. But is the Confederate flag any more racist than the flag that I'm proudly waving? Just because the North wanted to outlaw slavery, as we've said before, that wasn't for any kindness on the part of Abraham Lincoln. He said, I just wanted to preserve the Union. And funnily enough, traditionally, originally, it's only in recent years that the Democrats have had this monopoly on certainly the black vote. I think that's only been a recent change. Years before, the Democrats would have been regarded as racist, and black voters would have been more with the Republicans. But times change, demographics change, and you can understand why. Donald Trump 5-4, Joe Biden. 4-6. Let's have a little listen to ABC News there. Let's listen in on their election night. See what's happening.
Important as we move forward and could delay us, George, in the night in deciding or determining what the numbers are. And one more important note. We know that absentee ballots talk so much about early voting, and the absentee here in Georgia set all of those records. Well, the state of Georgia tells us that 225,000 absentee ballots arrived today. So those could take several days to process. Again, all of this is only important.
Several days.
It's going to be a really tight race. When we're going to get some of those numbers, George.
TJ helps. Thanks. Let's take another look at Ohio. 50% of the vote is in right now, and right now, Tom Yama's big lead for Joe Biden.
Yeah, this is really, really interesting because this would change the election and the race at
Here
this
we go, Ohio. I'm getting flashbacks now.
He's winning in all the areas he needs to win. Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. And if we go in a little closer, Cuyahoga County, one of the biggest counties in Ohio, you can see he's overperforming. It's the same story in Franklin, Columbus, the capital. Joe Biden at 76. He's up nearly 16%. But before Democrats get way too happy on this, I got to show you guys something. When we click back on Ohio, go to the absentee vote here. Look at those numbers, George. 20%. He's up 20 points, nearly 20 points on the early vote. That's
good news for Joe Biden in Ohio.
Democrats look like they're doing really well in Ohio. That being said,
these are the names I remember even from when George W. Bush beat Al Gore with him in 2000. It was Ohio and Florida and the recount, and it was so close. It's almost as if you needn't have an election anywhere else, and you know, just these swing states are all that matters.
It doesn't surprise me. I think that one thing we haven't talked enough about is women's suburban voters.
Here we go. We spoke about this. Women suburban voters.
Numbers. We're seeing this kind of wave there that's going to change the outcome, I think.
Heidi Heitkamp, thanks very much. Coming up on 9 p.m. polls about to close in 14 more states. We'll be right back. Coming up, we're tracking all the results.
And so are we. Yeah. Mohamed Akbar is saying, not inherently racist per se. These things were a part of human history. We can't be anachronistic. There's a good word. Yeah, we can't judge the past by today's standards, but it's interesting when you grow up with something being a certain way, and then you find out, oh, really? So once upon a time, the Republicans were seen as the party that black people would vote for. That's when they finally got the vote, by the way, and stopped being treated as people's property. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I forgot to thank Triple T earlier on, who joined us. That was great. We kind of lost him as we gained a phone call. But if anyone else has got any point you want to address, I don't mind opening it up. I trust you guys. If you click the link, you can join us briefly for a video message. Even if you want to just tell us who you voted for, who you didn't vote for, where do we go from here? What's happened to Kanye West? Has anyone got any updates on him? He's too busy getting his wife crazy, strange birthday presents. I don't know if you saw what he got Kim Kardashian for her birthday, but there's a video about it on the channel. And please, I don't emphasize this enough. Can we all please remember to subscribe and click the like button and all that. Update from Paddy Power, and I should probably do a little bit of comparison to the I'll be interested to see if other websites say any differently. Donald Trump has shortened back in to 10-11, almost even money, almost a 50-50 chance of winning a second term. Joe Biden sitting there at 8-11, so still more likely to be the winner, but it would seem Trump. I need one of those swingometers. If you're watching in the UK, famously on the British coverage of the election. They have this guy, I forget his name, very funny chap, with the swingometer, and he would run out and have this great display and say, here's where the voting is, and if it gets to here, that'll be a Tory victory, and Labour wanting it to swing back that way. You got Labour and the Tories on each side. At least in the UK, we do kind of have a third way, and the Liberal Democrats hate them or be indifferent to them are another option, and there are constituencies that have a Liberal Democrat candidate, and it is kind of we need something to threaten our politicians with, don't we? If you've got someone like Michael Gove, who was in a safe Tory seat, how does he feel any pressure to do anything if there's not an alternative to oust him? Owen Keeling saying, I'm surprised the odds changed so quickly. Yeah, as much as I've said that I trust the odds, it is always a snapshot. I mean, that's why I'm updating it regularly. It's kind of like stocks and shares, and if there's a big amount of money placed on one candidate, that will rock the odds. Not surprisingly, if we go through, you'll see Republicans odds on to win Texas at 5-1. Sorry, 1-5. They're around about, see, swing states. Arizona is about 50-50 at the moment. Georgia is clearly a Republican area. Michigan, probably Democrat. North Carolina. These are obviously places that haven't been called yet. And Ohio is 8-11 for the Republicans. So it looks like Ohio will go to Trump, and Ohio is one of the crucial battlegrounds. That's probably why Donald Trump is back up almost to even money. And I remember 4 years ago watching in much the same way, and when I saw those odds for Donald Trump shortening and shortening, and I thought, oh, it's a blip. Someone's placed a big bet and it's shifted the odds, but they ended up just getting shorter and shorter and shorter as the night went on. And then what happened? He got that call from Secretary Clinton, and she congratulated us. Electoral at 85B72T now. Jen Wallace, you're speaking a different language. Owen Keeling is speculating that if he were American, he would vote Trump. And I've always spoiled my ballot here, to be honest. Well, good for you, Owen Keeling. I guess spoiling your ballot is kind of like voting for the Liberal Democrats in some areas. But at least you're sort of showing that, hey, I'm here. And, I'm not happy. A spoiled ballot paper, it's a sign of anger, isn't it? It's almost like some kind of graffiti on the wall. And I was sad to see some anti-Semitic graffiti, apparently, in a graveyard with Trump daubed across the graveyard. So for all that's gone on with the politics, at the heart of it, there would appear to be anti-Semitism on the right in America, and I'm not shocked by that. Mohammed Akbar is saying, I would call, but would be about the park generally and not election topics, so would be off. But look, Mohammed Akbar, if you want to join in and take it in a different direction, I don't mind. It's just I wanted to document the event. It's election night. I wanted to share that feeling of being up all night with you guys. I don't really care who wins the election, to be honest. So if you want to call or join via the link, you're welcome to. You don't have to if you don't want to. And I say I don't care who wins the election. That's not true. I'm very intrigued to see who will win. and in the past I would have been very, very much pro-Democrat, and I want to be pro-Democrat. I want to get excited about Joe Biden, but in my old age, I've just become so disaffected with it all, and we keep repeating it like a mantra. The lesser of two evils is still evil. But as a person, I think he's much more appealing than Donald Trump, who's this very sort of cold, bragging, self-centered guy that's got a completely inflated sense of self and delusions of grandeur. If Donald Trump wins, no one will be least surprised or less surprised than he will be. And even last time, it's funny, last time no one expected him to win, and he won, and it was as if he expected it. Although tonight he did look a little bit down in the mouth, actually, for the first time, and he said, no one likes to talk about losing. I don't like to talk about losing, but it was as if for the first time in his life he was sort of entertaining the notion that maybe he was going to not come out on top. Last election, I wrote Clinton. Wow. Owen Keeling is saying, last election, I wrote Clinton killed Epstein in thick black marker. Well, you were being quite prophetic in that case, were you not? As Epstein was still around. PK bidding us a good night. Thank you very much, PK. It was great to have you on the line with us. And I hope you don't wake up in the morning to a disaster. We don't want any violence on the streets of America or anywhere else. Yeah, I'd love to know what Owen Keeling was talking about when he mentioned the last election. Yeah, remember where you were when the election happened. Let's have a little listen to ABC. I don't know why we've chosen ABC as our go-to source for this evening. Let's have a little listen.
Arizona. I want to take a look at that right now.
Arizona.
Electoral votes in play. This has become a battleground state as well. Longtime Republican state, but Joe Biden is putting up a fight there in the state of Arizona. Whit Johnson is there.
George, yes, Arizona. The polls are closing right now in Arizona, and we spoke to the Secretary of State not long ago, and she told us that they expect things to run pretty smoothly here on election night. They hope to release the first chunk of results about an hour from now after the polls close. They've been counting ballots in this state for 2 weeks already. The early vote, a big part of the story here, an estimated 85% of all of the ballots cast came from early voters. Of course, Democrats think they have the edge on the early vote. The Trump campaign thinks that they got the edge on the votes that will come out today. But as you mentioned, this is a traditionally red state. Democrats hope that they can turn this state blue in a presidential election for the first time since 1996. That was Bill Clinton. Before that, you have to go all the way back to 1948 and Harry Truman. But it's turning into a true battleground state. There are changing demographics here, a population boom, including one of the fastest growing Latino populations in the country, making up more than 30% of the residents here.
Hello, Mohammed.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, we're hearing you. Thank you for joining us. I mean, you can talk about anything you want. It's freedom of speech on this channel.
Because I don't know.
How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I don't know much about the elections in general, but I just called because
don't worry about that.
I saw your stream and stuff because I don't know if you remember, but a long time ago, just quickly in the park, I said
we met in the park. Yes, I do remember.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was great to see you.
Yeah, I think that must have been like a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Well, it's been a year at least since I've been anywhere near the park. I've moved on to do other things. Do you still go up there? How are things in Speaker's Corner?
Actually, to be honest, because of uni, I've gone up north now. So
okay, great.
I haven't been in a while. I would like to go back, but I've only been like once or twice, But I feel like, from many different sides, including the sides that, I go to watch, like the Muslims. I feel like, you know, it's become very egotistical now, and more of like a, you know, like a battleground. Like it's not really like everyone, they just want to win, you know, they want to make fun of each other, get views, you know, on the camera and stuff. Because obviously I'm guessing like a lot of their channels are monetized now. So
yes, and there's no doubt if you rock up at Speaker's Corner, you will get views on your channel. My channel, I've had to rebuild, having moved away from Speaker's Corner. I enjoyed my time there. I think I had every conversation I could have. It's kind of like the guy on In Between Us, completed it, mate. I felt like I completed Speaker's Corner. Once you've spoken to the flat earthers and you know, the hardcore Muslims, the hardcore Christians, the communists, and the vegans, who else is there?
It's finished.
So I've kind of moved on, but I'm really glad to bring people from that time with us. You met me there, and you're still watching the channel. You must like it, and now you're on it. So great to have you. I hope you're not locked down in uni. Are you? You're not trapped in the campus like some people were.
Yeah. So I mean, it's majority online now, basically. You know, university course and stuff. But they do require you to go. I think like let's say 3 hours in 1 week. But I remember in October we did that like at the beginning, but then cases rose, and then they decided for that month to just lock down in like completely and make it all online. But now, you know, we're still going into uni so far. But I think it varies. It varies.
Do you mind me asking what you're studying?
Economics.
Oh wow,
it's a bit dry. I'm not enjoying it as
no,
much.
but you know what, that's usually what wins elections. It's the state of the economy. If the economy is doing well, people keep the. As Jorge Masvidal said, I'm from a sports background. If your team's winning, you don't sack the manager. And you know, the economy is the analogy.
You're talking about the UFC fighter, right?
Context.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's of a Latin background, but very much in favor of Donald Trump. And he said before this Chinese virus, you know, the economy was doing well. The manager was doing well. Are you a UFC fan, by the way?
So I used to watch a lot of boxing and UFC. Like I used to just watch the big fights basically, because I feel like when they host it in America, you know, 5 a.m. is a bit too much.
Yeah, it's a bit.
You know, but now it's in Abu Dhabi, so you know they're doing it on the fight.
I know it's such
reasonable.
A luxury for us. Yeah,
exactly. 2 hours ahead only.
Yeah.
It's, got like.
I've spent time in the Middle East, as you know, and in Pakistan. And the great thing about being out there is you can phone home at any time. It's never sort of too late. You get to midnight, you can phone your family. Who do you like in the boxing then? You said you watch boxing. Who's
he's retired now. I mean, I like Jamaican. I like Danny Garcia. He's coming back. I liked Tyson Fury. I love him. Tyson Fury. You know, because he's so tall and quick at his height, you know, and obviously his personality is amazing, unmatchable. And then who else is there? Golovkin's getting old. I like Sergey Kovalev, but he's gotten old as well now. I think he got KO'd by Canelo last, maybe. I'm not sure.
I know. Canelo moved all the way up to light heavyweight to take on a champion. That's amazing.
He's a beast, man.
Yeah. And this is a guy that's been pro since he was 16?
Yes. Yeah. I think when he fought Floyd Mayweather Jr., like he was fair enough. It wasn't like the best resume, but he was still like 42 and all or something. Like he had a lot of fights behind him, and he was drained in that fight as well. I think.
He drained making weight or what?
In versus Mayweather. Because he came down the way for him. Yeah.
There's no shame in losing to one of the best of all time. And something the UFC and MMA in general doesn't have that boxing has kind of retained, and I don't know if it's a good thing, is this myth of the undefeated fighter. And Mayweather's so great because he's undefeated, but there's many ways you can win and lose. Canelo lost to Mayweather, but look what he's done since. I don't think a loss necessarily.
Of course not. I mean, Muhammad Ali and all them lot, they lost.
All the greats have lost.
you know. But you're no longer coming back to the park anymore.
There's nothing really there that tempts me back. I showed up on a Saturday for one of Piers Corbyn's protests. Someone was saying in the chat, "Did you hear Tommy Robinson in Speaker's Corner last weekend? It was arrested." Are you up to speed on that? I know that Heiko Koo was arrested.
Yeah, he was Tommy
yeah.
was as well. Again, I'm not sure what the reason was, because you know when you're not there physically, like the videos, they give you like a certain angle. You know, you don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And that's the thing when there's drama going on in the park. Like sometimes you have to physically be there to know the full context, because people just whip out the cameras at the wrong moment. And
very true.
See like
very true.
One shot.
There's always, as I say, there's always selection, omission, and emphasis. And it saddens me that some of my most popular videos are just silliness from the park. I sort of begrudge that, but you can't blame people for what they like. The worst things are popular, you know.
I saw your video with, I think it was with Braden.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I think
poor guy, and you know, if I saw him now, I'd shake his hand. He'd shake my hand. We're on good terms. It's not a problem. But I just try to come at him with a different angle. But this is a trouble, and it's same with politics. Negativity. It's so much easier to be destructive than it is to be creative. Most of the politics has been about how bad the other side is. Donald Trump is saying how terrible Biden is, and the Biden campaign is literally vote Trump out. It's not even vote for Joe Biden. It's get rid of him. When are we going to start to be creative rather than destructive? And when are we going to stop being just consuming all the time, rather than contributing and giving back in whatever way that would be? You know, I spend a hell of a lot of time putting videos on YouTube, and someone asked me a good question. They said, do you spend more time putting videos up or just watching videos? And I do watch a hell of a lot of videos as well. And I guess if I'm going to be doing one rather than the other, I would rather be being creative, and you know, you can create something rather than just absorb all the time. But what about yourself? Do you have a channel? Do you
I don't
videos?
have videos. It's too much for me. Too much. All this uploading, thinking of content, I can't do it. But
it does get a bit much.
Yeah, definitely. But like, I was gonna ask one thing. What made you what prompted you to go to Pakistan? I was just curious. Like, like your friend or something.
It was literally the greatest opportunity that presented itself to me, and the timing was perfect because there was an election, and you know I love an election. Imran Khan won. That was my good friend Ali, who's British-born Pakistani, but had family in Pakistan who he goes to visit. There's a family home, and I had time spent in a village that didn't even have a name. It had a number. Chichawatni was the biggest sort of local town, but we were miles from there in a little village that just had a number. And a river flowing through it, and you know the irrigation system. One of the good things the British did, and we were just loving it out there. And I mean, you've seen the video, and people watching, I hope can find it. It's on the Pakistan playlist. Yeah, it was just a great opportunity. Getting the visa was the hardest, most arduous part.
No way. I thought it would have been easy. I thought it would have been easy coming.
You can't go to the embassy. You have to go to some middleman who's got like a little centre in the middle of Hounslow, and you bring your photocopies of this and that, and they send you back and say, no, you need this, no, you need that. Can I use your photocopier? No, we haven't got one. And I had to go and photocopy my passport in a corner shop somewhere in the middle of nowhere. It's crazy. So getting there was sort of half the battle, half the fun. But when when you do go through that sort of hassle, then you really make the most of it when you get there. But you've got family roots in Pakistan.
Yeah,
Am
of
I
course.
right?
Yeah, parents.
Have you got your Nadra card?
I think NICOP card. I think.
Oh, is there a new name for it? What's NICOP?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't know. My dad.
But I know it's easy for British Pakistanis to travel, or easier
with that
to travel back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, my parents are directly from there. I mean, they both are like doctors. I think majority of my family lives there still in Lahore. Is that where you went?
Lahore, okay. I visited. We
Yeah.
started out in that place near Chichawatni. We visited Lahore. We went up to the top of the Punjab in a place called Murray,
Oh right,
up in
yeah,
the mountains, and we got to see Islamabad as well, and the Wagah border closing ceremony. Lahore is on the border, isn't it?
Yes, basically. I think
closer to the border.
Yeah. 30 minutes or so. Yeah.
That was I missed out. I didn't see Karachi. That's sort of a big. I mean, Pakistan is a huge place, as you know.
I think as terrorism has gone down, obviously because of the army operations. Like I think I've noticed a lot more visits, from foreigners, and they've been uploading a lot of them on YouTube, like going up to the north, Hunza Valley, this that, like places I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, and that's superb,
yeah, that's all we need. Yeah,
I really hope it can open people's eyes and minds and all that. Sorry to bring it back to the election, but we've just had a little swing, and I'm going to have to do some maths now. I don't know if Matty B is still in the chat. Joe Biden 10-11, Donald Trump 5-6. Does that mean Donald Trump is ahead of Joe Biden in the betting? If you put £11 to win 10 or 6 to win 5, whoa! Let's see if we can get a little bit of. Sorry, Mohammed. I know this is not your favourite topic, but you've called me on election night. What can we do?
Yeah,
it's the advert break on ABC.
11992.
It's gonna keep changing, isn't it? When's the next election? Yeah, it's probably far too early to tell. Yeah. But not that I condone gambling, but if you played your cards right, you could put a tenner on one of them, a tenner on the other, and if you did it at the right time, you'd be guaranteed a win. Would that still be gambling? I don't know. Probably. You can't, man. Sometimes leaving the house is a gamble. All right, let's tune in. Let's have a little listen. See if you can. Hope you're hearing this. We're plagiarizing ABC News.
Whoa. Coming up on 920 in these, that's what it looks like right now in the key state of Florida. 93% of the expected vote in, and Donald Trump is
slightly ahead in Florida, and Florida is this.
Joe Biden. I want to go to Senator Rick Scott, Republican of Florida. You think this one is
it's one of the crucial Ohio and Florida and Texas.
Donald Trump is going to win Florida. He's right on the issue.
In the chat, Valiant Joker is saying who is Pharaoh for the next 4 years? Pharaoh of the possible apocalypse. Lol. And he's updating us saying it looks about even, Julian. Yeah, even money. Who would have thought I wasted my time staying up till 2:21 to find out who wins, and we can't tell you anything.
I stay awake as it is, and I just thought I didn't know the elections was today. Like I literally before I joined the stream, I don't know, I just Googled something and it came up, and I was like, oh wow.
Oh, you heard it here. Mohammed, how are you so? How can you be out of touch like that? Are you not on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram? Are you one of these sensible people that stays away from it all?
Yeah, no. I deleted all my social media recently. Yeah.
Well, why?
I think because it's very addictive in nature. Obviously, the way it's designed. The way, like for example, you go on Twitter, right? Like you get your news updates about everything, whether it's local or international, all at the click of your fingers. You just At least me, I can't get off it. So I thought deleting it for a while might help.
Were you quite au fait with Twitter? Were you adept at using it? Because it's a language I don't really speak, I must admit.
Yeah. I mean, I've used it as a teenager, so you know.
And it is a good tool. And I think when a story breaks, sometimes you know, anyone in the world can have Twitter. Sometimes someone on Twitter will have it before Reuters, will have it before ABC
Yes,
News,
of course.
or whatever. Someone on the ground. But then you've got to fact check these things. To go a little bit local news, I know it's nearly 3 a.m. in the UK here, but were you aware of a news story out of Mitcham in South London today, where a young girl was approached and I believe assaulted by someone, by
right
a man?
In the morning.
Yeah.
Right in the morning.
Horrendous story, and really sort of shocking for anyone.
Mm.
Well, anyone, but obviously parents would be most concerned. But I was slightly worried by the fact that on my Facebook, people were sharing pictures and saying, this might be the guy that did it. And if it's not, can you tell this person to hand himself into the police to eliminate himself from the investigation? I mean, how dangerous is it to share pictures of someone who might be
absolutely
that type of criminal? If you're not 100% sure, surely it's not the right thing to do, is it?
And if it gets like plastered everywhere, you know, like people are just gonna automatically resonate that guy with being like a pedophile, regardless. They won't
Exactly.
all of a sudden say, "Oh, sorry guys, this wasn't the guy," and post like 100 tweets about it, you know. But I think it's people were, then again, there were plus points to it as well, that it was spreading and people were like bringing much more awareness to it and saying.
So yeah, that's the thing. People power is something.
Because I think they were posting like his address and his name, like they figured it out or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Workplace. Yeah.
Wow. And
there's a lot of incidents like that. Yeah. On Twitter, where there's like viral videos of, I don't know, abusive parents, and then, you know, they write in the tweet, everyone, let's report them to the police and find them, and eventually they get caught.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. But one of the other risks is you can end up compromising a case, I think, if you, as our friend Tommy Robinson did when he reported outside a court. You can end up achieving the exact opposite of what you were trying to achieve by derailing the justice system. And the law is there, whether you agree with it or not. We can't really we can't descend into vigilantism. Which is what I hope won't happen in America if they don't like the result.
That happens in a lot of third world countries, I'm afraid. Vigilantes. So
I mean, the poorer the country.
Yeah.
When's the next election in Pakistan then? Did you get a 5-year term?
I think it's 5 years in total. So I don't know when you are. When was he elected? Was it 2000? When did you go?
2018, wasn't it? 2018.
Yeah. It's about 23, 24.
Yeah. Okay. So.
But the economy is so bad in general. Like they're in debt, you know, to the IMF, and China specifically, you know, has got them by the neck. But you know, what can one man do? Only, you know.
Has China got them by the neck, or is China having a closer relationship with Pakistan?
I think it benefits them, you know, because of like the Gwadar report and the location, and also India as well. You know, I guess kind of.
But do Pakistan and India have a mutually beneficial relationship, like the so-called special relationship that we have? We get dragged into wars that we don't want to be a part of. What's in it for Pakistan cozying up to China as they kind of have?
Cheaper loans, that's for one.
Super loans.
Cheaper loans. Yeah.
Oh, cheaper loans. Yeah. Okay.
You know,
wow.
I think they owed Saudi Arabia a certain amount, and they borrowed like the same amount from China for like a cheaper interest rate and pay them back with it. So
very clever.
Yeah.
Wow. How can
for some reason, I don't know why.
And how can it? I mean, Pakistan's officially an Islamic Republic, right? How can they be purchasing loans with interest on it? One of the worst things you can do in Islam is pay even a penny in interest. How do they get away with that? And is there any outrage about it? You're an economist.
No one. I don't think, besides people who are like probably extremely conservatively religious, I'm sure they think about these things. But in general, I don't think people pay much heed to it. I think it's just a part of reality now. Like it's everywhere.
It's a part of reality. Yeah.
There's actually, I think there's even a hadith like saying, in the end times, it will be so prevalent that, you'll even, every man will face the dust of it. Even even the person that's trying to avoid it, he's still going to feel the dust of it. So I think it's just inevitable. What can you do?
Interesting. Yeah, that is the reality. I guess you can only play on the pitch where the match is taking place, so to speak. You know what, Mohammed? I'd love to do a whole show on economics with you. I mean, we're lucky to. We'll if you fancy it, you're welcome to message me on the number that's in the title of this video, or email me lessonsforlife247. You'll find me. Or maybe we could do one on money, because it's what makes the world go around. But it's very late in the night or very early in the morning, depending on how you look at it. Very, very grateful for you joining us, my friend.
Thank you.
Catch us again soon, yeah?
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Take care,
yeah. Thank you, and good night. That's Mohammed Akbar there. Lovely to have him with us. Really appreciate the people that come on here. It is quite daunting to just click a button and turn your camera on and speak to literally dozens of people around the world. But it's very late in the night here in the UK. I hope you will forgive me if I bid everyone a bonsoir or a bonne nuit. But we'll have one little last update from our friends over at ABC. I hope they won't sue us for stealing their live stream, and we'll just see how things are looking as we go into the latter part of the night. Let's have a look. Now, do you know what? I'm going to try a UK channel. Let's get our news from Sky News and see if they've got anything different to say about it. Who is ahead as we head into the small hours?
Just closed at 9 p.m. We're a heavily Democratic district, and early numbers show us, having about 93% of the vote. So we're looking good so far.
Okay. Now the key question, though, is: do you think you're going to have a Democratic president then to serve under?
It remains to be seen. I hope, the early numbers are what they are. It's pretty consistent between what's happening now and what happened in 2016. So we'll see. The night is long, and we're not gonna have results in many states for a number of hours. So we'll see how it goes. But either way, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot to fight for. I've been sent to Washington with a mandate, and I plan to do everything I can to meet that mandate for the people here in this district.
Yeah, well, it's interesting what you say, because one thing's for sure is it's not going to be easy for either candidate. And on the Democratic side, I've been hearing some people saying, well, look, Joe Biden's got an 8, 9, 10% lead nationally. He's home and hosed. It's not going to be like that.
No, not at all. I mean, in 2016, all of the polling told us that Hillary Clinton was going to win the election, and that did not happen. So, we've been telling people to ignore the polls, continue to organize, and make sure you get out there and vote early, vote using mail-in ballots. This is going to be a fight, because it looks like tonight is going to be a close race, and then we have the mail-in ballots to count, and Trump has already declared that he would claim victory and challenge those mail-in ballots in the courts. So, we have a long fight ahead of us, but I believe we're prepared for that fight.
I know you're able to be non-partisan as well, Jamal Bowman. So you must be heartened then just by the turnout. More than 100 million Americans voted before voting day, before November the 3rd. We haven't got the final tallies yet, but it could well be something like 150 million, and that's got to be good for democracy.
Hardened is the perfect word. It's excellent for democracy. What the very thin silver lining that Trump has provided has been a wake-up call to the American people. You know, we saw what happened in 2016. We've watched how he's governed over the last 3.5 years. It's been deplorable. It's been unacceptable. And democracy is on the ballot this time around.
Democracy is on the ballot. I can tell you, online betting from Paddy Power currently has Donald Trump as a 4-9 favourite to retain the presidency. Joe Biden has drifted out to 15-8, and my goodness, Donald Trump has just shortened even more into 4-11. It's very early, very, very early to call anything, but this is the shortest odds we've seen of any candidate all night. As it stands, Donald Trump is 4-11, a strong favourite with Paddy Power to retain the presidency and get the second term. I can't believe. Late in the night, I thought, when I saw the direction of travel and Biden was shortening, I thought, well, here's the swingometer. The swingometer has reached its point of no return. But at the moment, Donald Trump would appear to be hot favorite. Let's get an American channel up and just listen in, see if they are reflecting that. It can't just be a flash in the pan. But Paddy Power, who we are trusting for the evening, to tell us the truth, tell us like it is, Paddy. Could Donald Trump really be a hot favourite to retain the presidency? Oh, and Chelsea, Barcelona, and PSG all to win, 5-1. Trump at 4-11. He's just shifted to 3-10. Joe Biden out to 13-5. My goodness.
Jamie Harrison at one point raised more than $57 million in just over 3 months. He is one of those candidates that Democrats are hoping can help.
This is ABC News.
Blue. So that is what we're watching tonight here, George.
Okay, Jeanette, thanks, George. We can't forget that.
Good point from Valiant Joker. Lesser of two evils is still evil.
In Colorado, former Governor John Hickenlooper is going to defeat Cory Gardner, the incumbent Republican senator. So that is a pickup for the Democrats tonight in the Senate. John Hickenlooper has defeated Cory Gardner, John Karl. Magic numbers in the Senate: 3 if Biden wins for the Democrats, 4 if he doesn't.
Yeah, and this was probably their top target to pick up. Cory Gardner tied himself quite closely to Donald Trump, actually tried to avoid comment whenever there was anything
Wow, just when I thought it was time to go to bed, it starts hotting up and getting interesting. But as I said, if this election night turns into election week, there's no way we can carry on all night. Joe Biden is drifting out to 17-10. If you place £10 on Joe Biden, you can currently get £17 profit should he go on to win. Oh man, some people are going to regret that they were not gambling men or women. That is absolutely crazy. 3-5 now. Joe Biden out to 17 again. 17-10 again. Donald Trump in at 3-10, going good to soft. It's a devilish way to force a good soul to choose evil. Yeah, that's a good point from Valiant Joker, who's getting very serious tonight. Oh man, I just can't. It's bad enough addicted to gambling. I'm addicted to refreshing the Paddy Power page. Let's have a listen.
Look, as John was saying, he was viewed as the most vulnerable Republican tonight. There are several others that Democrats are keeping a close eye on. And I have to say, George, Republicans know that there is a very real risk that they could lose their Senate majority tonight.
That's the thing. It's not just about the the president. There you've got the Senate as well. Let's have a listen to CNN, very much. Oh no, that's ABC News. Let's have a, we'll do BBC one more time and see what their News 24 is saying. But I can't believe that the odds have shortened that much. If you'd played your cards right, you could have cleaned up no matter what.
60% is against Trump, and 40% is for Biden.
Do you think there's a chance that this country could come together after this? Because there really is a sense, isn't there, that there's a lot of division. A lot of people we've spoken to have said they're really worried about the next few days, the next few weeks, and what it's going to do to this country one way or the other. How do you feel about that?
Yes, I do have concerns about that, because there are some radical people in this country that have been brainwashed through the algorithms that they get through their social media feeds. And they don't research, they don't look at the facts, they don't believe in science, and that's just concerning to me.
The issues you voted on this election, what matters to you? Is it the coronavirus? Is it the economy? What matters here in Arizona?
Coronavirus first. We could have had a cap on this back in March. And because of the mismanagement of this administration, it's just gone wild. That's why we're #1 in the world for cases.
Okay, guys. It's too early to call. Jen Wallace is saying the electoral votes for Biden 122, Trump 92, but for whatever reason, somebody that knows something has got Donald Trump as a favorite to retain the presidency. That's how it stands at the moment here in the United Kingdom, 2:39 Greenwich Mean Time. It's too early to call. Thank you so much for everyone joining me, people that phoned in, people that commented. I don't know who will be the next president of the United States, but I appreciate you sharing this special evening with me. This has been Lessons for Life, and we will do it all again soon